So there's a lot of stuff going on in Yankee land right now, but a lot of it revolves around just a few things, and the majority, or the big thing, is putrid play. They are a team that's over 2 games over 500 right now, but are playing like they look like they're 20 games under 500, and it's unfortunate because on paper they're a really really talented team, even though they're a very unbalanced lineup and an unbalanced roster. They're still a very very talented team, and when they're healthy and when they're good, which they rarely are at the same time, they're a dangerous team and they're hard to beat, but teams have gotten better, not only in their division, but all across baseball. And while the Yankees haven't been looking, or while they haven't been getting better themselves. And unfortunately, some of the prevailing themes kind of keep happening with the Yankees, bringing in older guys who are just over the hill and expensive, and either coming off injuries and all of a sudden hoping that they're going to find the fountain of youth over here in Yankee Stadium when they're not doing it, waiting forever to call up guys or just refusing to call up guys, and a lot of these things are kind of hamstringing their ability to be consistent contenders, and it's a shame. But I want to go over a whole bunch of things. Like today, they made a trade for Tim Locastro for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Okay, and outfielder. Okay, so some of his intangibles, speed, which the Yankees don't have much of, and he can play the outfield. He plays some center field, so the Yankees have a dire need of the center field, and I get the logic behind it. Not a sexy trade. It seems like a low risk move, and with the hopes of maybe getting some stolen bases and some better base running and maybe some better defense that they lost by trading Mike Tauchman. And who knows? Because now they have to clear a 40-man roster spot, man, because this guy wasn't on the 40. So who the hell are they going to move? Are they going to move Brooks Krisky? Are they going to ship Clint Frazier off the roster and let him get things right down in the minors and shift Tyler Wade over to left field and maybe have a platoon with Miguel Andujar? That way they have some speed a little bit more regularly in the lineup with him and Locastro. Like, who knows what they're going to do? But I'm hoping that this isn't the move that they make for the deadline, because if they do, they're pretty much showing that they're not willing to do whatever it takes to win. Even though Hal, he was real cagey, and I'm not surprised in his press conference yesterday with the press, and saying, yeah, he's disappointed in the performance. A lot of it revolves around the players, and a lot of it does, but there's blame to go everywhere. Okay, so let's just be real about that, including Hal. But the fact of the matter is, this is such a poorly constructed lineup, overly right-handed, and the stuff that everybody's talking about, like not everybody, but so many people talking about trading for Starling Marte. Yeah, he's a good hitter, but he's also had a recent 80-game suspension for PEDs or nandrolone, an anabolic steroid. He's righty, so he doesn't represent their need for a more athletic, versatile, left-handed hitter. He doesn't represent those needs. He's older, too. Okay, and I'm not going to give a top prospect up for half a season to him. There's no way. No. Sorry, but no. And I'd rather get Adam Frazier if I could from the Pirates. Or at that point, Joey Gallo from the Rangers. Even though he has high strikeout totals, he's a lefty. And the Yankees need lefties. Okay? And, I personally I'd rather get neither Gallo or Marte, but, I have a feeling they're going to wind up doing, one of my predictions is they're probably going to make a trade with the Texas Rangers and wind up with, like, Kyle Gibson, if he doesn't get shipped to the National League Central, maybe Gibson and Delino DeShields in like a multiplayer trade with the Texas Rangers. It's not going to be the trade that anybody wants, including myself, but it's probably going to be the one that they wind up doing, and maybe some little small incremental ones like today. But yeah, that seems to me to be the prevailing theme right now with the Yankees. And like I said, Hal Steinbrenner said he's not going to be. They're not going to. He doesn't see them being sellers. And again, nobody's asking them to unload the whole team, but you have guys in here where you can extract a boatload of value from. And the fact of the matter is, the one player who you can get a haul from, has not shown the ability to stay healthy on a consistent basis. Plus, he has a year and a half of team control left, and he can extract a haul, and that's Aaron Judge. It might be very unpopular, but the one thing that, and people have talked about him being a captain and leader and all this stuff, the fact of the matter is, when he sat out yesterday, Boone sat him and Gio. At that point, when you're playing a team like this, especially against Shohei Otani, that's the type of move where a leader of the team or captain of the team be like, no, it's no way you're sitting me. No, I'm playing this game. I don't give a shit what you do. Okay, I'm playing this game. To me, the person that represents that type of toughness on the team is Gerrit Cole. I know he's struggling, but this guy's head could be hanging off his shoulder, and he wouldn't want to come out again. He gets pissed off when Boone comes out to pull him out of the game, and rightfully so. He's a bulldog. Bulldogs struggle too, but it reminds me of Mike Mussina when he was coming a bunch of years ago, and Joe Torre was about to come up to the mound and take him away. He told him, get your ass back to the dugout right now. I'm staying in this game. Torres, he went back in the dugout. I find that same intensity from Gerrit Cole when he's on the mound. He just has this snarl on his face, this, and that I really wish we had that in Aaron Judge. I don't see that in any offensive player. None on this team. And it drives me nuts, which is why I think if they can extract a good package, and I think they can. There's several teams that I can think of, and people have made some suggestions recently. I've even seen some experts talk about I've mentioned the Los Angeles Angels, okay, and there's been, I know they briefly had a conversation with them, okay, but you can. Personally, I think they can probably get Joe Adell, who represents a left. He's been injured recently, but he has a lot of potential. He was the number one prospect in the game the year before Wander Franco. Okay, they could probably extract him, and Judge would be an upgrade over Adell in that lineup over there. Adell would represent a huge potential prospect here. Okay, and maybe get like a Reed Detmers, who's a left-handed pitcher, one of their top pitching prospects, and maybe a Hector Yan, another left-handed pitcher. You can get 2 top 10 guys and Joe Adell, one of which is Reed Detmers is their number 2 prospect. All right, that's a good package for Aaron Judge. Okay, or there's even San Francisco. That's another team that's close to contending, but they're going to need to make a big move to leapfrog the Dodgers and the Padres, okay? And even the other teams like the Mets and some of these other teams who are really, really getting good. But they don't get Judge without giving up Yastrzemski in return. Mike Yastrzemski and some other, maybe 2 other top 5 prospects or something like that. That's a deal that they can make. And again, they would give the Yankees an athletic, lefty hitting elite outfielder who's under control till 2025. It's a thought. He's older than Judge, but he's under control until 2025. He's an elite defender, and he's a solid hitter. Okay, anywhere that they can make a deal for Judge, I would highly consider it. If they get a haul. Otherwise, do you really want them to give Judge, because you're not going to be able to give him 4 guaranteed years and then 4 option years. He's going to get 8 years and probably $200 million from somebody. Do you really want to do it? And here's the Yankees and have another overpaid guy on the wrong side of 30 who's eventually going to become a DH but can't because he's blocked by Giancarlo Stanton, who's an overpaid DH? Do we really want to go down that road? No. So this is the opportunity right now to trade Aaron Judge. And again, a lot of people aren't going to like that, but I would take advantage of it. It would cause chaos probably for a short term, but long term, I think the Yankees would be well off to do it. And he'd be the one guy who can extract an absolute ransom in return. So I'd be making calls. It can't hurt to find out. And Colorado traded Arenado. And look how it worked out. Worked out well. Arizona traded Goldschmidt. Worked out well. Okay, and Arizona's kind of in reverse now. They're not really contending right now, but neither is Colorado. But at the same time, they got prospects in return and a lot of payroll relief. And the Yankees would be doing the same and getting themselves out of a potential precarious position after 2022. When, they wouldn't be in a position to have to fork up a boatload of money. Or if they don't and they decide to let them walk, you're going to get a compensatory pick instead of getting a haul. Is that what you really want to do? Come on. So, to right now, it justifies at least getting offers for him. And again, as much as I wanted to see like that other side that we need from an offensive player, that bulldog side, that just guy's going to take the team and lead them. And I really, really, really wish I've seen it in Judge, but I haven't. Stanton speaks up, and he takes the hard questions and stuff like that. But he's very, modest and quiet about it, and sometimes he gets, a little vocal, but I'm not seeing it from anybody, to be honest with you, and except for Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole takes the hard questions, but he also gets on the mound, and he has a snarl on his face like he wants to kill you. And I know people are saying he's had a rough month, and it's the sticky ball. He still is 8-4 with a 2.6 ERA, and is on pace to get almost 300 strikeouts and probably win close to 20 games with a sub-3 ERA. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, we can't expect 300 strikeouts and a 1.8 ERA every year, just like you can't expect a 1.0 ERA every year for Jacob deGrom. It's not going to happen every year. Okay, we got to be realistic with this stuff. All right, and again, going back to moving Aaron Judge, because the stuff you can get back to him represents a robust return. And guess what? The Yankees have a lot of holes to fill. A lot of holes. And they're guys who can they get. And we've talked about them recently. Trey Ambergay and Ho-Jun Park, and even Chris Gittins getting an opportunity. If you move Voit, like Gittins is 3 years younger than Voit. Okay, we have a lot of youth here as well. And some of these other guys are just going to be stuck now. And this guy Locastro is just going to be another guy blocking these guys who could have gotten opportunities but haven't. Then I get, Castro's he probably has a little bit more of an ideal position for center field for him, but there's no reason you can't move other guys. Yeah. There's a lot of things you could do, but there's a lot of holes to fill, and Judge would help them fill. All right, and on the infield and outfield side, there's guys to be moved here, and again, these guys in AAA they need to get these opportunities. Otherwise, move them for other players. Why are they sitting in AAA? Why are you waiting years and years and years to call them up? I don't understand that. And even yesterday's logic of sitting Gio and Judge, it just didn't. It was really, really confusing. And again, if I were Judge, I'd be like, there's no way you sit me against Otani. And it all worked out fine, but that's the type of stuff where we really like to see a leader step up and do that. A guy who's not afraid to play hurt. And I get he's done some stuff, but and he's had some great stats and great years. He made the All-Star teams as a starter, so congratulations to him. But at the same token, they're going to be in a really bad position with him next year if he stays healthy. So now's the time to take advantage of this stuff. So I'm hoping, but other folks have mentioned Oakland as a trade possibility or Atlanta. I can't see either one of those teams happening. Yeah. Oh, if Oakland moves to Las Vegas, yeah, I still can't see that because they're probably going to wind up unloading Matt Chapman at some point because he's going to get expensive. They're not going to be able to afford some of these other guys, and so they're not going to pay $200 million for Judge if they're not going to pay their own guys. So it's this type of stuff that the Yankees need to kind of get better at, and they need to get. And I've said this too. They need to get better on the scouting end, the player development end. They just put it this way. They pick usually in the bottom of the draft, right? Every year because they've had success, thankfully. So has the Tampa Bay. So have the Tampa Bay Rays. So have the Red Sox. But their prospects have panned out so much more frequently than the Yankees' prospects. Even all picking down below. I know the Rays had 10 years of drafting at the top, but that was a long time ago. They draft at the bottom, just like the Yankees do. And yet their draft picks pan out more frequently. Same applies to the Red Sox. These are the types of things where they're not really developing enough players, especially on the pitching side, to give them reliable production. I know they're good at developing relievers, and they have a surplus of catchers, but none of them are really at the high levels. The relievers are some at the high level. Most of their top catching prospects are single A and double A. So this is where kind of the development component needs to come in. And I know there's this talk about firing Cashman and firing, but personally, the only person I would bring in who's not a GM currently to replace Cashman would be Theo Epstein. Heinblum, if he's a smart guy too, but Epstein would be the first. He'd be the first guy I call. He really would be, and and I don't even know if he would take it or consider it because I know he's wanting to do some big things with major leagues. But I think he could do some really cool stuff with the Yankees if he was a GM. But I don't see Cashman going anywhere. It's I don't see Boone going anywhere. They seem to be very secure in their job security no matter what. And it's a shame, too, because there's nobody lighting a fire under their butt. It's only the players. And trade this guy, trade that guy. And I get that, but the blame's got to go across the board. And it's got to go to Hal, too. And I know he's the owner, so he's not going to fire himself. But still, an owner speaking out a little bit more often. And not only just this Zoom meeting to tell us what we already know, to kind of dance around the questions and not be direct. That's not really that helpful. So these are the types of situations. But like, this is kind of the state of the Yankees right now. You know, they're in a situation where they'd be better off, honestly, trading one of these two or a couple of guys, getting a haul back, even if they punted on the season. Because the fact is, no matter who they add at this point, they're not gonna. I can't see them going to the top of the division or potentially going to the World Series with what they have, because they're not going to be able to get what they need without going over the payroll threshold. And again, Hal suggested a willingness to go over, but I don't see that happening. They could have done that in the beginning of the season. If he was willing to go over the threshold, he could have done it in the offseason when they had an opportunity to sign guys, and he didn't. So why would he do it now? That's my question too. Why? I can't see it happening. I can't see him bringing in Ketel Marte and a top flight starting pitcher and somebody else. I just can't see it, because they'd be way the hell over the threshold. And I know he wants to reset. So that's what I see. So now it makes more sense to move guys. And Judge seems to be the number one guy to move. Again, it would be wildly unpopular temporarily, but that's the guy where he would be able to get maximum value back from somebody, particularly a contender, who's like one guy away. And you bring in an Aaron Judge and you add him to a lineup. It's a whole different world. You add him to that Giants lineup, whole different team. I mean, seriously. You add him to the Angels lineup, different team, especially when Trout comes back. You mean adding Judge and getting Trout back to that's murderer's row. Murderer's row. Okay? And that's the team that can compete. And especially if they bring in a pitcher, now that they've moved Dylan Bundy to the bullpen, and they need pitching. God, Lord knows they need pitching. But you bring in a legit starter to add to that rotation, they'll be a tough team to beat. Tough team to beat. And at the very least, make the postseason. But, you know, this is where, like, the state of the Yankees, like the conundrum that they're in. And I know they're really resistant to trading these guys. I don't know why. I really don't. I mean, I don't understand the appeal in the sentimental keeping guys. I get, you keeping Gardner and stuff like that, but, like, trading, keeping these guys on the wrong side of 30 and then paying them a boatload of money for their least productive years doesn't seem to me like a good business move. And Hal's a businessman, so put it together, dude. It's not good business. No. So, as much as I'd hate to see Hal, a Judge hitting bombs on another team or playing really well on another team, the return that they could get for him, the return that they could get for a Voit, the return that they could get for a Gio, those three guys alone, okay? The return they could have gotten maybe for Chapman a month ago that they're not going to get now. But they might even consider calling up the Mets and saying, hey, do you want Chapman? You got to eat some of his money. Okay, and he only has a limited no trade. I can't go to a lot of the West Coast team, but he can't veto trades to the East Coast for the most part. And now that Dylan Betances is having season-ending shoulder surgery, they could use another reliever, and he doesn't have to be the closer there. Okay, you put him in there as a setup guy because it's still New York. He doesn't seem like he can handle the pressure of New York, so he wants to be the closer there. They've got Diaz there. He can set up for Diaz. It's probably a better situation for him there. And just a thought, but or to the Dodgers to be a setup guy too. I think they need another reliever as well. Again, somewhere where he doesn't have to be closer. I know he can veto a trade to the Dodgers, but or the Astros, okay, who are one of the best teams in baseball right now, and I would look out for them because my gut tells me they might wind up with Max Scherzer if he's traded, and that would suck. So for the American League, but it is what it is. So this is what's going on in my view in Yankee land. I wrote a bunch of things down here in my book, and I think I went over everything. Yeah, honestly, is Judge worth? The main question is Judge worth a huge extension? He's going to get one, so is he worth it? Even if he hits 45 home runs this year, he's on pace to it. Even if he hits 40 next year, is he worth an extension? For somebody, yes. Here, no, because there's too many other holes to fill. There's too many expensive contracts, and they need some more controllable guys. So, and they have the ability to create these possibilities by moving people. But my gut tells me they won't, but my heart tells me that I hope that they do. or at least present the opportunities and create scenarios where they at least have the option to do it. And in return, they can set the team up better than they're set up now. So that's my 2 cents there. So I appreciate you watching. I know this video was a little bit longer than normal, but this is the type of stuff I wanted to kind of talk about today and I want to get your view on it. I'm probably listening to a lot of other folks. There's a lot of folks who share the same perspective. Some people have different ones, so I appreciate everybody's perspectives on this stuff. But this is what's really, in my mind, the meat and potatoes of Yankee world, and a way to make them better, even if they're one step back to take 2 steps forward. All for it. But they have to at least show us that they have kind of a plan, and say, okay, this is what we want to do, okay, and they have to be willing to actually make the moves to get there. But take the risks. Don't be afraid. This is the goddamn New York Yankees, so don't be afraid to be bold. Okay, it's worked a lot of times. It can still work. So I appreciate you watching. I'll be doing the recaps tomorrow, when it stops raining over in New York. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.